Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre, which I just have to say, before we get into the actual review, that title is just awful. There is nothing memorable about it whatsoever. Anyway, this film is about a group of spies who are sent out by a British government agency to retrieve a stolen MacGuffin before it can be sold to the highest bidder and falling into the wrong hands, and at the same time they have to find out what exactly it was that was stolen in the first place. Guy Ritchie is one of those filmmakers that a lot of people are split about. But the one thing that you can't deny is that he has his own unique voice. His films are weird, bizarrely paced, jump around erratically, are filled with tons of characters with different agendas, and can be confusing even if you're paying attention, let alone if you're not. I wouldn't say I love any of his films, but he is a unique director for sure, and when he's at the top of his game, he can make some genuinely good, solid films like Snatch. However, the problem is when he's not at the top of his game, his films can come across as a complete mess, and by and large, that's kind of what we got here. This film jumps around so much that it's really hard to get a handle on things. The first scene of the movie is literally shot and edited like it's a trailer of the movie that we're about to watch rather than the movie itself. It tries so hard to cram as much exposition as it can, but it never really gives the audience any time to breathe. This film has so many moving parts because not only do the British spies have to try to retrieve whatever was stolen and all the complications that come with that, they also have to contend with another private contractor and his men who are trying to retrieve the stolen goods, and yeah, there is a lot to juggle here, and the film doesn't always succeed at doing so. Everyone does just fine with what they're given. Jason Statham plays Jason Statham, and he's very good at playing Jason Statham, and such is the case here. Aubrey Plaza is kind of a mixed bag. Sometimes she has funny lines, and she's usually charming enough just from her presence alone, but man, some of her lines are groan-inducingly bad. Carrie Elways and Bugsy Malone are given almost nothing to do, but by far the standout performances are Josh Hartnett as the actor that the British spies end up hiring, and Hugh Grant as the eccentric billionaire. And those two have excellent chemistry with each other, and they bounce off of each other really well. So much so that I wanted to see more of their interactions. One bizarre thing that I noticed about this film that I don't typically notice is that there are times where the sound mixing in this is pretty poor. In one scene that takes place in an airport, the sounds of the airplanes were so loud that they were sometimes drowning out what the characters were saying, which in a regular film is annoying, but in an espionage film like this one, where every bit of dialogue is important, that's pretty sorry. There's even a few scenes where the film literally uses English subtitles to explain what certain characters are saying, even though they are speaking English. However, even with all of its flaws, this was a film that managed to keep my interest throughout. Maybe it was the charm of the actors they got, maybe it was the mood and vibe that the film was going for that just made me go along with it, or maybe it was because the laughs and the good action scenes were spread out enough that I never got to linger on something that I didn't like for too long. Even the big reveal as to what everyone is chasing after and what the big evil plan is so ridiculous that you can't really take it seriously. But kind of in a good way, kind of like in those old cheesy 70s and 80s spy film kind of way. Sometimes there is charm to be found within this film's suckitude. But even still, there are a few decent action and or comedy set pieces in here that do genuinely stand out. Like the scene where Statham breaks into a house, that ends up having a good payoff, and there's a phenomenal chase scene at the end of the second act that has a funny payoff as well. And like I mentioned before, Hugh Grant and Josh Hartnett get some amusing moments trying to reenact the unbearable weight of massive talent. And funnily enough, once all the domino pieces were in place, I actually had a really fun time with the film's final half hour or so. It was a lot tighter and it was more focused. Anything fantastic? No, but just competent enough that it managed to hold my interest. So whether or not you like this film is going to depend on two things. How much tolerance you have for Guy Ritchie and his films, and how much you're willing to forgive a bad script if there's genuinely entertaining action. This one was very borderline for me because For most of the runtime, it was kind of hovering in a half-empty rating range, but the pretty entertaining climax, in my opinion, makes up for its shortcomings just enough to push it over the edge. Although I will definitely understand if people can't get into this one. This is one that I would describe as perfect for a lazy evening rental. Do I wish this was better? Yes. But as far as messes go, this could have been much, much worse. Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre, by the tiniest of margins, gets a half-full shot. That review you just heard was an excerpt from my weekly review show This Weekend, where I review 5 brand new movies every single weekend. If you would like to check that out, then make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss it. And as always, if you want to see more of my reviews, you can check out my Letterboxd account. The link is in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.